Shall I tell you what you've told us today?
Go on then.
You said visual sales letter and visual website optimizer, and you said frameworks and networks.
Yes.
2 visuals and 2 words.
Okay.
Well, I just see a pattern there.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And the frameworks are for visual people, so it's all about being visual today.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, Judith. How are you this morning?
I'm marvellous, Nicola. How was your birthday yesterday?
A bit lively. I'm a little bit jaded this morning. Not too bad though. It was quite early, quite an early thing. People started turning up about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Steve cooked enough chili con carne with all the trimmings for everyone, about 20 people. So my kitchen, I think we'll be dining on it for a while now. And everyone was lovely. There was a mix of adults and teens. And it was quite lively for a Tuesday night. The neighbour did call us at 11 o'clock and say, is it going on much longer? Because I need to get up at 4. And I said, no, it's all winding down right now. So the benefits of being a bit older are that you can finish earlier.
There was particularly, I think it's fair to say that neither you nor I are spectacularly photogenic, but there was a really, really, really nice photograph of you on Facebook with Katura.
Oh yes, that was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She's travelling Australia at the moment, Katura. She's taken off and she did the India thing. She went out to work in India in a bar, running a bar that was previously run by someone who worked in the pub in Shoreham. And then she's gone on to Australia and she's working her way around Australia. Immense admiration for people who do that. It must be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah,
so she's working her way round. So it's not even as though she's got a big pot of cash in the bank, you know. She's actually earning as she goes, which is marvellous. Yeah. So what about your week then? What have you been up to?
Well, I've been very excited by the blood moon, lunar eclipse thing, because I love the moon, and the full moon has kept me up 4 or 5 nights this week. One of them watching it go red and eclipse and things, which was quite exciting. But the sleeplessness is beginning to get to me now, to be honest. But the other exciting thing about the week was my new crayons.
Oh, they've arrived, have they?
Well, a client, the artist Alice, who will be listening because she likes our podcast, she came over to see me a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed out the ridiculousness of me showing Alice, the artist, my colouring in book is just surreal. But she noticed, or I pointed out to her, and she noticed, the problem was that in my crayon box there simply aren't enough pinks. Well, so when she came to the cash flow on Saturday, she brought me a handful of pinks, and they are of infinitely higher quality than the ones I was managing with, which all I knew, so I was chuffed to bits of them. 24 watercolour pencils for $4.99 from WH Smith. I thought they were lovely. But these ones from Alice are from Faber-Castell, a brand called Albrecht Dürer. He was an artist. They are fat. They are They feel good in the hand. They feel gorgeous on the page. Well, my new crayons are the highlight of my week, Nicola.
Stationery porn. I'm always up for a bit of that.
Well, it's interesting. Funny enough, I'm over stationery because it's clutter and I can't take it with me when I go to New Zealand. But the right tool for the right job is what we're talking about here.
I've got to say, your colour schemes are really rather lovely. You have got a knack for not overdoing it.
Well, I think I'll tell you what's interesting, and that's I always say that every week about everything I say. It's interesting. It's interesting to me. The thing I remember about this colouring in, and this is the criminal damage that the wrong word from the right teacher can do to you. So when my art teacher shut down my art when I was about 11, and I don't kid myself, an artist, Nicola, colouring in is not art. I know that, but I do love colour. I think you know that about me, that I love colour. Yeah. And this has rekindled it in me how much I love colour. And I have a client who does good art and in big colours. And the thing I've always admired about her is she has a colourful life as well as an eye for colour. And so that colour thing is perhaps the thing I'm enjoying most about it, alongside the very definite relaxation qualities of it, the meditative thing. That really gets me out of my head spectacularly well.
So you're listening to audiobooks and stuff as you're doing?
I did last month because you can't watch the telly because you're watching the page, so you can listen to the telly. We had a particularly challenging book in book club last month, and I listened to 16 hours unabridged while I was colouring, and it went very quickly. Okay. It would be better still not to double multitask, obviously, just to sit quietly and colour in the sunshine, and there's been a fair old amount of sunshine this week, hasn't it?
It's been amazing this week, hasn't it? Down in Sussex.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very nice indeed. It cheered me up immensely. So what's fuelled your fire apart from the colouring then?
Well, a cash flow game on Saturday here,
yes.
And actually it's going to dominate all relevant sections of my contribution to today's podcast, because it's in Fueled My Fire, it's in Client Challenge of the Week, it's in Word of the Week, and it's in Who or What's Impressed, because a day playing cash flow with a handful of clients from my Club 100 is a day of laughter and tears and learning about myself and learning about them and being moved by it. It started inauspiciously when lovely Georgina arrived from the Channel Islands and said, could I put her salad in the fridge? And I went, well, I'm not sure. And in so doing, I broke 6 eggs all over the kitchen. Oh. But it picked up from there.
Oh, yeah, well, they can only pick up from there, can't it? How difficult they are to pick up when they're.
Well, I tell you what happened. Conveniently, they dropped into the dustbin that I was in the middle of putting a new clean bin sack inside. So they went into the dustbin beneath the bin sack, and I said to Georgina, "Look, don't tell anyone. I just put the clean bin sack in over the top, and I'll sort these eggs out tomorrow." So I did the eggs on Sunday. Tell me what's fueled your fire.
Well, I just want to let's backtrack a little tiny bit, unless you're going to tell us in the other sections. Oh, okay. Well, I won't ask you what the new learnings were this time then.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening and they're wondering what we're wittering on about, it's Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, and it really is. I think it's the best board game on the planet. It's challenging enough to be a challenge, which is nice. But it's also, you can get it, once you get it, you get it. And it just is really quite amazing at what it teaches you about your attitudes to money. And you can play it online, apparently, with lots of other people. I haven't tried that yet, but I do have a copy of the board game here, so must dig it.
And if you can't get to a game, and if you Google wherever you live, cash flow game in Manchester or Birmingham, wherever you live, you'll find you can join in on one. But if you can't get to a game and you don't want to play it online, make sure you've read the books, because it's based on Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they're called, aren't they?
Absolutely, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And his guide to investment is one of the best, the last third of it's one of the best business books, I think, around. So very good for lots of different reasons. My fire has been fueled this week. I had to, I'll tell you about in my project updates why I needed to do this, but I needed to write a script for a video, which it's like a webinar, but it won't be live. It'll be just, recorded, and then people can watch it, because I'm a bit off all those pseudo live webinars. But I had to write a video. It's called a video sales letter, and it basically is a script for a video where you want someone to take some action at the end. And I was dreading it and dreading it and dreading it and dreading it, and I just thought, oh God, I must have a decent video sales letter template somewhere. So I went hunting for it, and I found a really good one that was created by the people who did Traffic Genesis, where I learned to do Facebook ads. And it was just so easy to follow their template. And it took me all day yesterday while Steve was cooking away in the kitchen. But I have done what I think is a really good. And the reason to follow a template is so that you don't miss any bits out. I had 25 odd people apply to learn more about this opportunity, and they all had different questions. So the point is to naturally and seamlessly cover people's questions and objections, so they aren't left at the end of it thinking, oh, she didn't cover that, or she didn't tell me that, or I'm still, missing a bit of information to make a decision. And if you could do it in a natural flow, which you do when you follow a good template, it makes it a more enjoyable experience for you to read it out and go through the slides. But it also makes it a much more enjoyable experience for the person who are trying to find out the information. So that's what fueled my fire, a jolly good template.
A jolly good template for a video sales letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are around. So if you do have to do a webinar of some kind, do go looking for a template, because it will make your job a lot easier covering the things you want to cover.
What you're reminding me of is that when my brother still worked at the bank, when he had the day off for his birthday, he would clean out the garage. And what you did on your birthday as an internet marketer was create a video sales letter.
Yeah, and people kept saying to me, "You're not working, are you?" And I thought, I really love work. I can't honestly. Yeah. Sitting on the sofa and reading my Greek book, which would mean if Grease on My Wheels, that's quite a good title. It's Harry Enfield's dad. And he's cycling around the Peloponnese. But if I read that all day yesterday, I wouldn't have anything to read when I go to bed. So I actually love work, and I'm not ashamed to say I worked on my birthday.
Well, there you go. And my brother likes to tidy out the garage on his birthday.
But first, a word from our sponsors. Are you sick to death of all the hyped up quick riches and push button offers out there for making money online? Well, the Fast Start Masterclass will teach and mentor you how to create your own successful online business in under 4 weeks. But you will have to do some work. The most important thing you need to know about us is that we've made a great full-time living working part-time from home for nearly 20 years now. We've also taught many hundreds of people to do the same. Our training is 100% money-back guaranteed. If you follow our simple system, you will get up and running with your new online business in under 4 weeks. You'll get access to everything you need to get started. Strategic planning tools, detailed training videos, live support video webinars. You get your questions answered, and we've also got a private online support group 24/7 365. Join the Fast Start Masterclass and we guarantee that you'll be up and running within 4 short weeks. Just visit thebusinesssuccessfactory.com to find out more.
Client challenge of the week, then, Judith. That's next.
Yeah, it's come out of the cash flow game.
Oh, good.
And I'm just going to tell people that haven't played it that what happens in the cash flow game is that we go round and round and round and round and round in the rat race for hours on end, just like we do in real life. And we get the chance to draw opportunity cards, big deals and small deals, where we can create passive income. And the goal of the game is to make more passive income than your monthly outgoings, so that you are financially free and can choose what you want to do with your time. And when you come out of the rat race, you go on to the fast track. And that's a life of ease and cash and luxury and holidays and treats and the bank manager kowtowing to you rather than the other way around. Now, what happens in the cash flow games is that everybody likes the rat race because it's more fun, it's noisy, all our mates are there, and it's all we know. And so the topic of this week's Client Challenge of the Week is Addicted to Struggle.
Oh, that's a good one.
We're addicted to struggle. I've already had one of my group calls this morning, and Addicted to Struggle came out in there, which is it's all we know, and it looks like fun because everybody else is doing it as well. So imagine you'd passed Rich Dad's test, you were out of the rat race, you're on the fast track, and you're out there by yourself, and you've got loads of money and it's too easy. and you've got nobody to play with because everybody else is still in the rat race, you know, how would that be? I wouldn't have a problem myself, but lottery winners have a problem. Lottery winners have a problem. They get rid of all their money because they don't like being out there by themselves, and they go back in to familiar territory, you know, washing windows or running a car garage or something like that, because it's for a lot of people, being different, being separate, being successful, but being out there alone is not nice. And sometimes my clients either say during the game, or they write me emails when they get home saying, well, it's not realistic, is it? Well, I don't know how we'd know, frankly, because we don't live the Donald Trump lifestyle. So how would we know what's realistic or not? And also, they don't want me to make it easy for them. They want, no, leave me alone, let me do it the hard way. I think we're addicted to struggle, Nicola.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about my reactions as you're saying all that, and I definitely would. Well, I would find it very difficult to do nothing. You know, if I sold a business.
Well, I don't think you do nothing. You see, on the board game, what you do is you buy and sell businesses. So you'd be going to board meetings, and you'd be checking the accounts that were sent in, and you'd be making decisions. You'd be keeping an eye on your investments. You're not doing nothing. Yeah. You're just not doing the 9 to 5 grind.
It's interesting this because I've experienced it to a tiny degree with several businesses where you know where your customers are coming from. They are coming on a steady basis. You don't have anything else to do with the website. You don't have anything else to do with your email follow-up. You know, well, clicks and leads is sort of there anyway because, you know, I've a steady stream of referrals and people come from the Facebook ads and they book themselves into the diary and I don't have anything else to do with the marketing. I'm not doing content marketing for it, so I don't have to write blog posts. And it's really quite a weird feeling. I suppose that's why I keep looking for other opportunities and other projects because
but they don't need to be businessy. That's the thing. There must be other things you've wanted to do with your life, like read or write or paint or learn something. We can take up time. If you think of Tim Ferriss, he had the mini, in the 4-hour work week, he had the mini retirement so he could go and learn Spanish, go and learn flamenco dancing, go and really train his body to within an inch of his life. Do you know what I mean? It's an opportunity to have big chunks of leisure time. You can take up time-consuming hobbies, which those of us in the rat race can't really do.
No, I'd love to go and learn how to paint watercolours and cook Italian food in Tuscany and things like that. So I'm sure I could think of a few purposeful holidays I'd like to do. That's very true.
Well, actually, cooking's quite a good one because what we do when we're in the rat race is we try to make cooking as quick and efficient as we possibly can because we're busy. And if you were on the fast track, you could do a long, slow, time-consuming recipes, as opposed to what I call a career woman cookery. You wouldn't need to do career woman cookery because time takes on a different meaning.
Yes, my dad, when he retired, started literally just played golf, appreciated wine, and went on wine tasting holidays and things.
Well, golf's a very good example because it takes 8 hours.
Yeah, and also he cooked endless things that were absolutely delicious that you would never even attempt in a normal life. So
quite. Yeah. So I think what it requires is a complete. Well, let's not look at the challenge at the moment of what we would do with all this free leisure time. Although, you remember that internet marketing conference we went to, the one where I said, well, I've been below ground for days with no vegetables. Yeah. There was that woman that stood up and said, effectively, I'm self-sabotaging myself for being successful because how will I cope with all the begging emails I'll get? Do you remember that one?
I think it wasn't even begging emails. It was just she had this perception that success meant a lot of email.
Yeah. Well, this is what comes out of the game, is that the cramped rat race that we know so well, we know all of it. We know it good bits, we know its bad bits, we're familiar. We haven't let our brains explore the alternative. So we make assumptions. Somebody said on Saturday something like, well, I have a friend who's out there, but I wouldn't want to live a life like that. Well, what's his life like? I can't actually remember, but it was not something that my client felt was attractive. But that's not the only option out there. It's like being in the biggest sweet shop in the world or the biggest bookshop in the world. You know, absolute choice. And I certainly don't think you'd get it right on day one or year one. But imagine you were like you. Let's do it with you. You're in a a fabric shop and you're going to make some clothes, okay, you can pull down samples from all the shelves in all the colours in all the sizes and experiment. And I think that's too big. I don't know how to say this politely. It's too big a head for most people. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I can't get my head around that. And because we're so busy in the rat race, we haven't even thought about it.
Yeah.
And I think we should, like that woman at that internet marketing conference and the emails, what about all the rest of the good stuff? Maybe we should spend some time visualizing and exploring and daydreaming around what we would do if we are, let's not go for total financial freedom, but freer than we are now.
I've got several things popping into mind. One is that, remember the Tuesday exercise we used to do in the gym, where we got people to write out what they would do from the minute they got up to open their eyes on a Tuesday morning when they were financially free, and how they would spend their day and who they would be with and where they would be and what it would look like, smell like, taste like, etc., etc. And that's quite an interesting experiment, because a lot of people then put in something that's meaningful and would make them fulfilled, like, looking at, a favourite charity or something like that. There's a big burning question here we're not addressing, which is, if people are struggling and they suspect that the addiction to the struggle is what's keeping them struggling, how would you go about breaking out of that? How would you go about
well, I was going to come back to that. I do think that the important bit of this is the addicted to the struggle. And the call I had with my group earlier this morning was very enlightening on this, because I think one very nice lady described herself as having been brought up by a mother who was a grafter.
Yeah.
And if you're brought up in a family of grafters, and as opposed to shirkers, and most of us are, I think, I still find myself very drawn to people who know how to put the work in, and the whole concept of, the Protestant work ethic, all that kind of thing. It is brainwashing, but I'm very drawn to it. High achievers, hard work, all of that. I've deliberately had to decide in the second half of my life that that's one route to success, but it's not the only route to success. I think it is an addiction to the struggle because it seems like a worthy cause.
Yeah, it makes you feel better about yourself as a person.
Yeah, and also if your mum was a grafter or your dad was a grafter, or they both worked themselves into an early grave for the opportunities that you and your brothers and sisters had to send you to university, give you a better life, all of that kind of thing, it's a little bit of a betrayal if you just throw over their value system, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very big one, isn't it? People subconsciously think that they have to live up.
I think most of this is subconscious. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think you've got to notice it. You and Sarah always did this. It's easier to notice other people's silly things that they think and say than it is to notice your own.
Yes.
And I think the other thing to remember is, once you start to catch yourself on with these damaging habitual behaviour patterns, it's to remember that you have a choice.
Yeah, it's so if someone is in a struggle, and it could manifest itself as they perhaps don't take any action until their back's against the wall, firmly against the wall, or how do you see it manifesting itself so that people can look out for that kind of behaviour in themselves?
Yeah, I think what happens is, if you look back over, say, my 40 years, I know yours isn't quite as long as that, but one of the ladies that was with me on Saturday, although significantly younger, had a phase of her life when it had all gone swimmingly, and then something had happened, and she'd gone into this place of struggle and lack and scarcity, and that one had stuck for 20 years.
Oh.
And when she had the breakthrough in the game that actually it could be easy, and she was a person who, for instance, went to Oxford, so the first 18 to 21 years of her life were easy. She was a high achiever, she was the top of everything, she was the creme de la creme, it was easy. I can't actually remember what happened when she went to work, but something happened, and then it tipped her over to this alternative place where I think she's realised that she's got stuck. And I told them this story on Saturday about how, after my first recession, which was 87 to 92, life had been quite tough for a long time. And what happens is you get used to the slash and burn economy, where you cut your overheads back to nothing, and you become very, not penny pinching, but aware of every penny and where it's coming from and how hard you have to work for it and how difficult it appears to be for abundance to come to you and all that. You kind of get into, you wear a new groove, Nicola. And I told them this story about being in Austin Reed in Canary Wharf with my friend Nicola and another friend, and that it took me half an hour to make up my mind to spend £20 on a bag I needed to go on the tube with. And when I finally decided to go to the till and pay £20, the lady behind the till and my two friends all went, hallelujah! Why did it take you so long to make up your mind to spend 20 quid? And the fact is, because I'd been 5+ years in a difficult place financially. And if you're not careful, it becomes your new normal.
Yeah, it does. It becomes the way you think completely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can think of loads of examples.
And not even think. I think not even feel, but feel as well. And it starts to describe you, so you become the one in your family who is, the poor sister or the poor auntie or the one for whom it's harder or the one. And sometimes it can be a rejection of their values as well. So, if they are successful and but you don't want to be like that, you reject the whole thing rather than thinking that you can pick the good bits and rewrite it your way.
Yeah, this is why it's so important ironically, the people who need a wealth coach most are the ones who can't afford to or don't think they can afford to pay for things. One client's coming to mind where she wants to put the coaching on hold. And I said, well, that's just, the one I told you about last week, that's just so far in 6 months. You're just about ready to launch a new product. It would be absolutely bonkers to stop now. And I said, are you, I know she's got children, to support through college and things like that. But I said, are you single? We'd never actually covered this topic before. I said, are you single? And she said, no. She said, no, I'm married. And I said, so does your husband work? And she said, yes. And I said, and do you have a house? And she said, yes. And I said, do you have lots of equity in your house? And she said, yes. And I said, so it's really quite interesting that you're feeling so poor when actually you've got so much, and you could be utilising some of that so much to get you through to the successful place you want to get your business to, where we started. And it's just so interesting that I don't have a house, I don't have a husband, I don't have anything like that. It's what, and with you as well. We are solely responsible for our own success, financial and otherwise. But other people have so many support systems, but they feel much poorer.
They also have lots of wacky things. This lady I'm referring to, who I love and respect very much, when I was giving her a lift to the tube station afterwards, revealed that she had an ISA. Now, ISAs are about saving money in a tax efficient way. I happen to know she doesn't earn enough money to make tax, so why has she got an ISA? Do you know what I mean? It's like, so it's just weird, the things we get. We've got to have an ISA because sensible advice says you've got to have an ISA. Oh well, yes. Or you could use the money to alleviate that struggle you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if she's not paying tax to get a tax break on that.
Right, I know, but it's just madness, isn't it? The sort of advice that we follow. But the point of this, I think, is addiction. Just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it always needs to be. And one of the ladies in my other group turned up this morning and said, I've got myself into a state where I'm trying to do too much, and then I can't break off at the end of the day, and then I feel guilty, and then I feel tired. Quite a lot of this is all generated, and therefore we have a choice.
Yeah, but you often need to talk it through with someone else, don't you? And not just your mate who's in the same situation. Postie's arrived. You need someone who's outside it, don't you, to talk it through and to look at things differently to you.
Well, I think that's why the game is so brilliant, because you've got 6 people around the table, and either you're very bright like this lady who had this massive breakthrough in the game and was brave enough to do the crying for all of us. And you always need somebody. You always need somebody that does the crying for everybody. Yeah. But what you see is the way somebody sitting opposite her might be in a position of just natural ease. Everything's always come easily. Everything feels easy. It might not be as simple as that, but it's the comparing and the contrasting of the way that we just think the way we are is the way that it is. And that's not true. You can change any thought and any behaviour in any moment, as often as you need to, every day for the rest of your life. And if it took you 20 years to learn to struggle, maybe it'll take you 20 years to go the other way. But wouldn't it be better to be deliberately setting off in a different direction, deciding that your version of financial freedom is yours and yours alone? It doesn't need to involve golf unless you want it to. It doesn't need to involve fleecing people unless you want it to. You know, there's this concept that the people out there, the people who are free, it's a whole set of problems with which we're not familiar, and then we might be obliged to become nasty people, lazy people, stupid people, fat people, slow people, all sorts of things that aren't true.
I know. That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, when you get really down to the nitty gritty of people's beliefs about money, I mean, I still find we did it in the Money Gym for 6 years, didn't we? And I still find the topic endlessly fascinating. I mean,
it is endlessly fascinating.
Yeah, and watching all the teens with all their different, attitudes to money is quite fascinating as well, because they've all come from different families and different backgrounds and all think about it differently. I mean, Phoebe's boyfriend Ben is. His dad's a model and a very good-looking chap indeed. The kind of person you don't want to be, generally around that much. And then Ben's a model as well, and he regularly, he works in the pub, and he's been to media college, and he regularly pops off and does modelling jobs and comes back with 300 quid, 500 quid, whatever. And Phoebe says to him, "What do you have to do?" He said, "Stand around and look interested in football for 2 hours." That was a recent job he did. And the other thing is he does sports betting, interestingly enough. So obviously we were talking about sports betting last night. And he does sports betting, and he does quite complex accumulators and really wins quite well a lot of the time. So this is a 19-year-old who's got abundance, through and through. He just expects money to be easy and fun.
I think also the thing is, it would give us an awful lot of time to develop interests.
Oh, yes. Well, that's what they did in the olden days, wasn't it? I mean, Downton Abbey's back on our screens, and that really reminds you of what people did do. They sat and read, and they became, they showed pigs. That was I've always quite fancied that idea. It'd be quite fun, wouldn't it, to breed and...
Well, time-consuming hobbies. It's the time. It's the luxury of the time. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've done that one, I think. I think that's rather nice. So just to recap, so if you feel that you're addicted to the struggle, what are the practical steps you can do? I used to love that one where you wrote down rich people are, and you just literally free associate with what you feel rich people are, and that'll throw up some things that perhaps are holding you back. And what else?
Yeah.
Talk to a coach or someone who is a mastermind group, put together a wealth mastermind group where you can get other people's feedback on how things could be different. What would you suggest?
I think develop the leisure area of your life. Don't be either working hard or exhausted. So work, rest and play. Open up the third side of the triangle. Work hard by all means. Rest because we've got to. And play. It's that play area. My colouring is a terribly time-consuming hobby, which I didn't think I'd got time for, but it's so gripping. I've managed to find time for it. Develop that third area. What would I love to be doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you won't be afraid of leisure time, and you won't be afraid of taking actions that are required to bring you leisure time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's making me feel guilty for working on my birthday yesterday.
No, because we covered that. There's almost nothing you'd rather be doing, was there, than creating a video sales letter and my brother tidying the garage. We spend our birthday doing the things we love.
I bet your brother pops into that garage regularly now and just to feast his eyes on the tidiness.
He does love a good tidy.
Well, good for him. He's a man after my own heart. What's your word of the week then?
Well, it's related, I'm afraid. It's worthy.
Okay.
I deserve everything life has to offer. This comes out of the addicted to struggle, where I'm not worthy. I'm worthy. I deserve everything life has to offer. But you have to be able to integrate that feeling across your mind, your body, your soul, your entire being. Every aspect of yourself has to feel worthy. It's your fluffy sock drawer you used to call it, Nicola.
Yes, I had lunch with Rachel only last week, the fluffy sock concept. Yeah, so worthy, very nice. And funny enough, we were only talking about it yesterday because Phoebe's boss said, because she's just passed her licensee exam. She's a fully fledged licensee now. And they were having a management meeting, and they've asked her to step up and take more responsibilities. And apparently, one of the bosses said, I think that'd be good for Phoebe's confidence, because she seems to suffer a little bit from low self-esteem. And Phoebe was saying, I don't think I suffer from low self-esteem at all. How can you tell? And so we were talking about this whole thing about being worthy of, how do you tell? What's your self-esteem telling you? Are you worthy of things? And we decided that she had a very robust self-esteem and he was misreading.
What have you chosen for your word of the week?
Frameworks. Because
frameworks.
Yeah, frameworks. It's a word that's been invented by anyone. Taki Moore, who is a coach to super coaches, he uses frameworks a lot. He's an extremely visual person, and as am I. And he loves frameworks. I love frameworks. Mind mapping is a kind of framework, and using my video sales as a template yesterday was a kind of framework. It's about when you're a creative person, you can be very scattered, and when you're a visual person, a simple visual framework really helps you to organise your thoughts and put them in a coherent order so that they can be communicated to other people. And I didn't know about mind mapping for years and years and years, and it changed my life when I found it. And for example, Taki has lots of nine square grids, and he just uses them to do things like content for webinars and stuff like that. There's a very good podcast called Sales Marketing Profit that James Schramko does with Taki, and they do cover frameworks quite a lot in that podcast and share some of their favourite ones on the show's website. So if you're feeling a bit disorganised, a bit scattered, like you've got a job to do and you don't quite know how to put it together, then think, is there a simple framework that I can follow? I do this with funnels, marketing funnels. That's a framework. If you draw out a load of boxes on a whiteboard and think that's going to happen to the customer, and then if they say yes to that, that'll happen to the customer, or if they say no to that, that's what will happen next. That's a framework. So I love them. I just find that they're simple tools, simple visual tools to help you be more effective, especially if you're a creative or a visual person.
I think of them like skeletons, where it's something to hang everything on.
Yes, that's nice. Yeah. And in the right order. So skeletons, if you put a skeleton together wrong, it wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah.
Good stuff. What's your project updates then? What have you been?
No, you go first, because I've dominated the other sections.
Oh, okay. I have got an exciting new project that popped into my head at the weekend. I was thinking, I really need some people around the country to feed me business, and for them to make money out of that too. And so I just threw it out there in terms of an email to my list. That's one of the good things about having a mailing list. If you have a brain fart, you can fart it in their direction and see what happens. And I did that, and about 25 people have put their name and email in to find out more, which is why I'm doing the webinar.
What did you ask for? For them to be referrers or what?
Well, for people who want to start their own business but who don't know anything about digital marketing, because, I was thinking, I could go out I was thinking about other ways of attracting business rather than just doing Facebook ads. And I was thinking, I really should start going back to the chamber, meetings and networking and all that stuff. And since I've decided I'm an introvert too, Judith, I don't want to do that. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I had one person in each area of the country who loved networking, who loved going out and talking to people, who doesn't know anything about internet marketing, but I could teach them enough so that they, and it's actually a benefit if they don't know too much, because they won't be sucked into trying to do websites themselves or the Facebook campaigns themselves.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that they'd go out and we'd have a very limited. I'd make them a website for their area, and they'd get sort the business cards out, and they would just go out and talk to people about businesses, about how they generate leads. And then when they would bring them back, and we would together do a business strategy call. And so I would look like I was working for them, but it would actually, the fulfillment would happen through clicks and leads. So it would be Facebook ads, Instagram ads, YouTube ads, so social media pay-per-click. It would be, if they've got lots of traffic but they're not turning that into leads, we would offer that service, the traffic to lead service, and we would do WordPress websites for people. and all of that would be fulfilled through my company, but they would be the front-facing, customer-facing person. So they would have their own business in their own name.
So I tell you what I'm calling this. I'm calling this Nicola's Network of Networkers.
Oh, okay, that's quite nice. And I've specifically said I don't want people who know anything about digital marketing. I don't want
No, I get you. Yeah.
people.
You want people down the right hand side. You want the extroverts. You want the supporters.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've been working on. And interestingly, Judith, I did the numbers yesterday, and it's actually really easy to make a 10k a month business just with a very few customers in this. And the idea, is that obviously that all the fulfillment would be done by me, who does know a lot about internet marketing, digital marketing, and all that stuff. So there is someone who knows about it, but the person doesn't have to in order to have a very nice business indeed. So, I'm quite excited about that. Very excited, in fact. Only 14 people around the country I'm looking for, one in each area.
How many?
14 people in total in the UK.
14.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I very, very quickly last week explained to you about my T1, T2, T3, T4 system, which is, where you start with 40 quid, 80 for the, well, it went bust this week. I went all the way to T4, lost my entire pot that I'd created in September.
Oh.
I had to start again at T1 yesterday, which fortunately won overnight, but that was quite a shock to the system. But if you've got a system, you've got to follow it, haven't you?
Yes, and how did you manage to overcome the feelings that must have arrived?
Funny enough, I didn't have any feelings about it at all. Somebody asked me that in the relevant Facebook group. If I'd had anxiety before I put on the big bet, I wouldn't have put on the big bet. I don't believe in having a dog and barking yourself. I bought into a system, so I find it very relaxing just to follow the system. And I made the decision ages ago that if I was going to follow the system, I wasn't going to deviate from the system. Do you know what I mean? There's no point in saying, well, I'm half in. If you're in, you're in.
Yes.
I'm disappointed. The worst feeling I felt is I'm disappointed. That's the worst feeling I felt.
So is it not supposed to have happened, or do they tell you that will?
It happens very rarely. They say it happens. So what they do is they tell you must have this pot, which is, in my case, 40 quid plus 84 plus 172 plus 370 or something. That's not a huge amount of money. It's 500 or 600 quid. And the fourth and final bet in that system, which I've never had to go to before, I've had to go T1, T2, T3 quite a lot, but I've never had to go to T4. I had to bet 370 quid, and I lost it, which meant I'd lost the whole lot. I'd lost the whole pot, 40, 84, 172, 370. But straight away, you go straight back to the beginning, bet 40, turned it into 68, of which you bet 40. It's slow. If you're betting 40 and winning 68, it's quite slow to make 28 quid a day, as we discussed with Profit Accumulator. So I quite like it when it goes to T2 or T3 because you usually make more money. Yeah. T4 is a bit of a stretch, but they did say this system has only happened twice in 2 years. Well, of course, now it's happened 3 times in 2 years, and I was one of those. But it's bust. That's the thing. It can't get any worse than T4. If you bust at T4, you go back to the beginning again. It's not like we go T5, T6, T7, like you see in those videos about those films about Vegas, where we believe this one is the one. When the system is, if you lose it on 4, you go back to the beginning.
Oh, well, I'll be interested. So you're no better off now at the end of the month as you were at the beginning of the month.
Well, that's the interesting thing about it. It's where you draw the line. Sadly for me, it was on pretty much the last day of the month. So I had to draw the line there and go, oh, look, on the last day of the month, I lost everything I'd made in the month. It could easily have happened on another day in the month, and you wouldn't be measuring it in quite the same way.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense? If it had happened halfway through, I would have recovered half of it by the end of the month, which is just a sort of totting up day, isn't it?
Oh, I see what you're saying, yes. Well, I'll be to see what happens in the next month then. So is this the thing you've been mainly focusing on, project-wise? This?
Well, only because now that I'm back to work, September, October, November, with proper full-on coaching, I've literally had to cut down all my other project work, as you said last week, to either it's got to be automated, which it is where I'm a poker robot, or fun, where you make time for it because it's so gorgeous, or simple, like the tips system. So really, of my 11 things, I'm down to just 3. One's being done for me, one I'm doing because I'm having fun, and the other one only takes me 5 minutes because the rest of the time I'm either podcasting or running a group or a cash flow game or with clients.
Yeah, okay. Well, yes, I'll be interested to see what happens in the next month on this one. what's impressed you this week then?
Well, the people that came on Saturday for the cash flow game, all the attendees, returners and newbies alike, but I want to give special mention to two, not by name. I will name the first one, Georgina, because she came all the way from the Channel Islands, and what I've noticed over the years is that the further you travel to learn what you need to learn, the more you make of it, actually, because you've got skin in the game.
Yeah.
So somebody who drove across London, yes, nice, but somebody who got on an aeroplane, came to London, stayed in a hotel, the reward comes to them, sometimes slowly, but remember lovely old Janet Swift, she came up to Canary Wharf for a whole year, once a month, to play this game. And I think if you've got that commitment to do the travelling, to go and do the learning, it becomes its own reward. I've seen that many times. But specific mention of the lady who had the breakthrough and did the tears, because that somebody that does that, they do it for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are many people sitting around the table who would have had a quieter reaction and they wouldn't have cried in public. But it's always very moving when somebody trusts the rest of us to, have their learning in public, which involves, it's so moving that they cry.
Yeah,
more than we do.
I find it very, very awe-inspiring that people have these strong emotional reactions, and you know when they're going to happen. You can't orchestrate them, and I often have on my VIP days, but
yes.
And you learn something about yourself in that moment, and other people learn something about you, and it creates a connection that's very
yes.
I think. Yeah, lovely.
One of the other ladies there, Alice, said, don't worry, I cried last time. She said, I can't remember what I cried about. I said, I can. I didn't tell her then and there, but I could remember what she cried about, because the tears, for me, they're the really moving moments when things change.
Yeah, they're symbolic. The tears are symbolic of the shift that's happening inside.
Yeah, the breakthrough, absolutely. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, I'm still very impressed with Visual Website Optimizer, and I know I mentioned it last week, but I've had another week of running experiments, and I just love this bit of software. It just makes it so easy, and the other thing I've realised is it's going to make it so easy for me to work with other clients. Where clients have got pages that are just terrible, especially corporate clients, where they want to send the traffic to a page that's just terrible, and it's not going to convert. I can now just get the techie to put a bit of code on that page, and without having to change the page on their website at all, I can now experiment with different variations of that landing page till it works, without having to keep going back to the techies, which is such a huge thing. It's been such a big problem with more corporate clients, the recalcitrant techies who are so territorial. And I now can, just say, can you put this bit of code on the header, please? And that's the end of that. And I can just experiment to my heart's content to make sure they get a better.
And I'll tell you what I like about that as well. You're not saying, I think that page is rubbish. You've got a scientific system for proving it's rubbish or
Absolutely.
not.
Yeah, and I love that about data testing generally, is the fact that, and similarly with the 14 people I'm going to find, they're not going to go out and have to try and be experts. What they're going to be able to do is go and say, let's see, shall we? Let's test it. That's, I don't know. They're not going to have to say, oh, I would do this because that's the right thing to do. You can say, let's see, shall we? Let's test it. And it doesn't make the other person wrong either. That's the nice thing.
No. And also it's not subjective. So if you say to somebody about somebody's website, and people ask me my opinion about their websites all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm giving an opinion, I qualify it. But, so if you were dealing with a client who loved their website and you said, well, that page is rubbish, it's not Nicola's opinion anymore. We've got some testing system here.
Yes. And it's a story. I mean, because Manesh, how clever he is.
Yeah.
He's using it as well. In fact, he put me onto it, to be fair, and he made me look at it and closer than I would have done otherwise. And he's testing such little things now, because he's got his funnel all completely set up and working, and he's testing things like the colour of a button on a call to action, and it's one of them. He's using an orange versus a red button, and it's made a difference. One of them's converting at 45%, one of them's now converting at 82%. So that is such a massive, massive improvement. So you can see when you're paying for traffic how important it is to wring every last bit of value out of that traffic. And he's just from changing the colour of a button, he's wringing, what's 45 to 82. It's quite a big difference, isn't it?
Shall I tell you what you've told us today?
Go on then.
You said visual sales letter and visual website optimizer, and you said frameworks and networks.
Yes.
2 visuals and 2 words.
Okay.
Well, I just see a pattern there.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. And the frameworks are for visual people, so it's all about being visual today.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Okay, so just to wrap up on Visual Website Optimizer, that you get 30 days free trial. I would strongly recommend you go and check it out. It just involves putting a bit of code on your website, and it's easy to do, a bit like putting Google Analytics on, and just have a play with it and see if you can improve your conversions. And it gives you lovely graphs and things, and it's all very coloured-y, Judith. So we're back to colour now. It's all.
Oh, I do like coloured-y. Coloured-y is one of my favourite words.
It is coloured-y. It's very coloured-y in there.
Yeah.
Finally, I just want to say before we finally say goodbye, 1, come and find the private group on Facebook and request to be a member. And the other thing is, if you could do us a review, that would be absolutely splendid. Thank you very much. Lovely. Well, there we go. We've rattled through that one, haven't we?
We have.
So see you same time, same place next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.